Hi, everyone. It's Kathy. And yes, I'm coming to you live on a Sunday because I've been reading, and whenever I read something kind of inspirational, I love to come and share it with you all. So I'm reading a book by Tara Mohr called Playing Big. And I really think for any academic woman who is interested in kind of improving the way that we move through academia, this is a fantastic book to read. I'm only halfway through and I'm recommending it already. So I think that's really says something about the book. But today I wanted to come and talk to you about a very specific thing that she talks about in the book because I think it's something that, well, it's definitely something that has come up in the I Should Be Writing Facebook group a lot. It comes up in my membership, the Academic Women's Writing Collective. And so I wanted to tell you how Tara Mohr addresses it. So one of the questions that academic women and academics in general often kind of ask is, how do you deal with the rejection of your article? And even if your article is not rejected, how do you deal with negative criticism in revise and resubmit comments and that kind of stuff? So, you know, as I've said in other places, writing is a creative act. So even if you are, writing up your lab report, writing is an act of creation. And because of that, when we create and put anything out into the world, it's scary, we feel vulnerable. That's how it works. And so, but I think this is kind of amplified in academia where you're specifically putting yourself out in the world to be criticized. So when you go through the blind peer review process, you expect to get three written critiques of what your about what's wrong with your writing, right? So one of the things that Tara Mohr talks about in this book, Playing Big, is that what we need to do is to unhook ourselves from both praise and criticism. And this is super important. And she really walks through how to do this. But one of the things that she said really leaped out at me, and that's why I wanted to share it with you today. So she gives like principles for unhooking from praise and criticism. And the first principle she talks about, and I'm on page 101 of the book, is feedback doesn't tell you about you. It tells you about the person giving feedback. Okay, this is super important, all right? So she's not saying that feedback doesn't tell us anything, right? And she's not saying to ignore feedback. What she's saying is feedback tells you about the person giving feedback. And what we need to do is take that in, not as a critique of ourselves or of our person or even of our writing, but rather as data, helpful information about what another person thinks about our work. So I just want to read a little bit. This is from page 103. So she says, when you look at feedback this way, you can approach it with a kind of exquisite calm and centeredness because you know it's just useful data, nothing more. Feedback is not meant to give you self-esteem boosts or wounds. That's not its place. It is meant to give you tactical information about how to reach the people you want to reach. Feedback is emotionally neutral information that tells you what resonates for your desired audience, what engages the people you want to engage, what influences the people you want to influence. That's so important. So again, I'm reading from Tara Mohr, Playing Big, page 103. So let me apply this a little bit to reviewer feedback or feedback on your writing. So the reason, or one of the reasons that we put our writing out in the world, right? We're trying to communicate, and we need to know how that communication lands, right? And so sometimes what we can gather from getting critique, and let's say negative critique from reviews on our writing, is that it has not landed with our audience. Okay, doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean any of those things. What it means is that for that person who reviewed you, it didn't connect. you didn't express what you thought you were going to express. You didn't convince that person. Now, that can mean that that person is an old curmudgeon, right? I mean, you could not connect to a reviewer because a reviewer is perhaps somebody super set in the old ways of doing things, and you're trying to change the ways. So you need to be able to read reviews and get that kind of information. So maybe you can see, you're like, well, this person doesn't agree with my epistemology, for example. Like, this is something that happens a lot for qualitative researchers. You put something out there, maybe in an interdisciplinary journal, or for an interdisciplinary journal, and you get like epistemological critique, or theoretical frame critique. Like that, not that you don't have a theoretical frame, but that they disagree with your theoretical frame. So those kinds of things tell you not that your theoretical frame or your epistemology is wrong, but that that person doesn't doesn't see the world through your epistemological view, right? It doesn't tell you you're bad. It doesn't tell you your writing's bad. It says reviewer number 2 is not on board with this, and that tells you something about reviewer number 2. It tells you that maybe they're old guard. It tells you that maybe, it could be that maybe when you said X, reviewer 2 thought Y. And that is something that you can constructively go back and say, okay, did I communicate this well? Can I make the way that I communicate these ideas better? Or you can decide reviewer 2 is not my audience. Have you ever had reviews come back and they're like wildly different, right? They're like, reviewer 1 was like, had nothing wrong to say or nothing bad to say about your article. They were like, this is amazing, blah, 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 and just compliments and compliments. And then reviewer number 2 was like, this sucks and nobody should ever believe you, right? So that tells you about those reviewers. Reviewer number 1 is probably your target, right? It's probably the person that you're trying to connect to. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to think about how we might start to try to disconnect from the criticism that we get on our writing, and even from the praise, right? And just take criticism and praise as data, as just, it's not personal. It doesn't say anything about you. It says something about the person who's giving you that feedback. All right, that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you get a chance to pick up Playing Big by Tara Mohr, I totally recommend it. As I said, I'm here, but I recommend it already. Anyway, I think it's really well written and accessible. Oh, the subtitle is Practical Wisdom for Women Who Want to Speak Up, Create, and Lead. And I really feel like all of us as academics are being creative. We are leading our fields. I think that I want you to do that in a way that feels good to you and that is nourishing to yourself, instead of feeling like we're always in this world where we're being attacked all the time, because academia can really be crappy, and we need to figure out ways that we can react differently and simultaneously change academia from the inside. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Bye.